When most American anglers store their gear away in the garage for the winter, my carp season is only just beginning. People often believe that carp go into some kind of hibernation and stop feeding altogether. In reality, carp simply become more cautious and smarter, and that is exactly what makes winter fishing so exciting. Few people know that in many US states, carp remain active even when the water temperature drops to 35 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. They no longer chase bait the way they do in summer, but they still respond to the right presentation. That is why the biggest trophies are often caught in winter. Another interesting fact is that there are hardly any people around the water in winter. The banks are empty, there's no noise from boats, and fishing turns into a calm form of meditation. For me, it is a special time when every signal on the rod feels like a real event. Many anglers don't realize that several different species of carp live in America, and each of them behaves differently in winter. Without this understanding, success becomes a matter of luck. That is why I always start with classification. The most common species is the common carp. It lives in almost every lake and river in the country. In winter, this carp stays in deeper water, often near old river channels or submerged trees. There is also the mirror carp, a subspecies of the common carp. It is easy to recognize by its large, sparse scales. In winter, it becomes extremely cautious, but it can reward you with a true trophy. Grass carp are a different story. They are often stocked to control aquatic vegetation. In winter, they hardly feed at all, so catching one is a challenge even for experienced anglers. A separate group consists of silver carp and bighead carp. They filter the water and feed on plankton. In winter, it is almost impossible to target them with classic carp tackle, but sometimes they show up as a pleasant surprise. When I arrive at a lake in winter, the first thing I look for is old river channels. Even in man-made reservoirs, they remain the main migration routes. Carp stay where the water temperature is more stable. The second important zone is areas near dams or steep banks. The water there is usually slightly warmer because of circulation. For cold-blooded fish, even half a degree matters. My third favorite location is submerged trees, snags, and rock piles. They give carp a sense of security, and winter fish do not want to move much, and these places become their real winter apartments. You can talk about winter tackle for a long time, but the main rule is maximum delicacy. I avoid thick lines and large hooks. The more natural the rig looks, the better the chances of a bite. My standard choice is a hair rig with a small size 8 or 10 hook. I use a soft hook link material so the bait moves as naturally as possible. In cold water carp, pay close attention to details. I choose light rods with a test curve up to 2.75 lobegers. They allow me to see even the slightest bites. In winter, carp often just cautiously taste the bait. I set the reel drag as soft as possible. Carp can stand still for a long time and then suddenly make a powerful run. It is better to give them some freedom than to lose the fish. Winter baits are a special kind of magic. I reduce the size of my boilies to 10 to 12 millimeters. Large baits are simply not attractive to passive fish. Sweet flavors work best. Vanilla, strawberry, caramel. In cold water, scents spread more slowly, so I choose bright, bold flavors and often add liquid attractors right before the cast. Corn also produces excellent results. I like to combine 1 grain of corn with a small boilie. This combination looks natural and does not alarm the carp. Winter feeding is a delicate balance. If you overfeed, you can ruin the whole session. I limit myself to just a few handfuls of ground bait per spot. My mix includes crushed boilies, breadcrumbs, and ground corn. The goal is not to feed the fish, but to create an aromatic trail that makes the carp search specifically for my hook bait. As for the time of day, I don't rush to the water at dawn in winter. The best action starts closer to midday when the water warms up slightly. My favorite window is from noon to about 3 in the afternoon. That is when carp often leave the depths to feed. I always plan my trips around these hours. Weather plays a huge role. Sharp pressure changes can completely shut the bite down. But several stable days without drastic changes are almost a guarantee of success. When playing a fish in winter, I never rush. Carp may feel sluggish, but they are still very strong, and especially near the bank, where they often make a final run. I always keep the rod at the right angle and never try to force things. In winter, haste is the shortest path to losing a fish. Patience matters more than strength. Safety is another aspect you should never forget. I always wear thermal clothing and carry spare gloves. When near the water can drain heat from your body in minutes. I never go to remote places alone. In winter, any mistake can be costly. It is better to have a partner nearby or at least tell someone where you are. Winter carp fishing is first of all a test of character. You may sit for hours without a single bite, but every take then becomes a true reward. These rare bites are what make winter fishing so special. When you hold a big carp in the landing net in freezing weather, it feels as if time stands still. These are the moments you remember for a lifetime. I always advise beginners to start simple. There is no need to chase records right away. The main thing is to understand the logic of fish behavior. Watch the water, the changes in weather, the small details. Over time, you will start noticing things others ignore. And those are what lead to success. Ethics become even more important in winter. Carp are weakened by the cold, so they must be handled with great care. I always wet my hands and release the fish quickly. I prepare the camera in advance and never keep the carp out in the cold for more than a few seconds. It matters to me that the fish survive the winter and bring joy to other anglers. I like to experiment even on the coldest days, new scents, new colors, unusual combinations. In winter, carp sometimes respond to things they ignore in summer. Once I caught my biggest winter carp on a tiny pink banana-flavored boilie. It was a spontaneous choice, but it worked perfectly. That's exactly why I go out into the mirage. After every session, I make notes, temperature, pressure, baits, and results. Over time, this turns into my own encyclopedia of winter carp fishing. Over the years, I have realized that winter fishing is more than just a hobby. It is a lifestyle that teaches patience and observation, and the colder it is outside, the warmer these memories become. American waters look completely different in winter. The same lake that buzzes with people in summer becomes deserted and mysterious, and somewhere in that silence, under the water, carp move slowly. When I return home after such a trip, I may not always have many photos, but I always have stories, each of them beginning with how, on a cold winter day, a carp once again surprised me.